another spooky episode of Around the Campfire. I am Catherine, and I am joined by Jackie and Nicola. As you notice, I did the greeting last week. But Jackie wants to do the spooky greeting for next week. So, did you like my very bad Dracula impression? I like it.
To all of our Romanian and Hungarian listeners, we're really sorry.
Yes. We're very sorry. It seems to be the way in which Dracula is always portrayed as having like a very I don't know what to describe it as, like a very sort of generic European accent.
Exaggerated accent, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like for everything. So you have it for like Dracula in like Hotel Transylvania, and then the Count from the Count from Sesame Street. One ah ah.
That being said, there used to be a kids' TV series I remember watching a good few years ago. I didn't know that they continued it on for a little while after I stopped watching it. It was called Young Dracula. Now,
Oh, I love Young Dracula.
any person that watched it, whether in your UK or that, but I loved their portrayal of Dracula as like this like cool goth dad that was a bit clueless.
Oh, he was so clueless.
He
Like that
was
was
so
that was the
cool.
whole point. But yeah, and like man, I had like the biggest crush on him for so long.
Cough Dad Dracula.
Yes.
He like hated the daughter and favorited the son and
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
he's
like
just
the daughter was very like she was like the spitting image of her dad. She wanted so badly to be like recognized and be important, but it was like, but you're a girl, so you can't. You can't inherit the legacy. It was so stupid, but it was so funny.
Oh no, I don't think I've ever watched that cartoon or ever seen that one
It's
before.
yeah, it wasn't a cartoon. It was just a regular show, but it was so funny.
mm,
So it
it
was
was
like,
like it's like an Ingrid. You can't inherit like you can't be like behead vampire or something like that. It's like that's your brother Vlad's position because he's the boy and then was it the mom ran off with a werewolf or something?
Yep.
Was it Renfield was like the gross like caretaker or something like that, and
hmm
yeah, there was like
So
a yeah, the kid had like a stuffed wolf or something for some reason. It was for kids. I think that's why they had that in it. So
yeah, and then all of a sudden, like the last season or so, it suddenly became not for kids anymore.
yeah,
And it
literally
was
one element of that show that I loved was the woodwork teacher that was Van
yes.
Helsing, Mr. Van Helsing.
Yes. And it was like the stereotypical, like that's all he could think about was like vampires. So it was very, very
He's the woodwork
stereotypical.
teacher. And he was like trying to drag the son that was in the same class as the vampire kid. And the kid was like, Dad, they're like not real. Vampires aren't real. You're just, wacky. But then obviously he finds out that, vampires are real, and he's like, oh my god, you're right.
So speaking of the whole Dracula thing, let me tell you, I'm like I love Dracula. Always have. I have a picture of Dracula tattooed on my body. Gary Oldman, obviously. But
oh, I'm sorry. I was like, I wanted it to be Dracula, Mr. Bird. That's what I thought of in my head. And you said you have a tattoo, and I was just like Dracula, Mr. Birds, and you're like Gary Oldman. I was like, oh.
The best part of that skit in that Halloween episode is when they've just staked him, and he's like starts to shrivel up, and is like, ugh. And they're like, phew. Then he pops up again, going, "You're fired." Like stakes him down. It's like, Dad, that's his crotch.
But yeah, so Stephen Moffat, I have feelings about Stephen Moffat, and none of them are pleasant. But anyway, so I found out that he was redoing Dracula. So of course I had to watch it. And I was about one or two episodes in and immediately got angry. But I had to see it all the way through until I got a little further in. And I was
Was
like,
that was that around about Christmas time or New Year's or something?
I don't remember, but
Oh,
oh my
okay.
god. Okay, so the premise of the show is obviously you've got Dracula, and it's like a complete redo of the story of Dracula. And
That
it's
alone.
so
Mm.
it's so bad. So it starts off with Jonathan Harker going to the castle. And when you first see Dracula, he's all gross and all this, and he does the typical "I don't drink wine" line, and he says it just like that, and it pisses me off.
I don't drink
I
wine.
don't drink wine, and I'm like, bro. Well, for some reason, Dracula has this ability to like absorb people, and like by doing so, he suddenly becomes British.
Ah, I see.
So, like, after a while, he's like, "Oh, cheer up, Harker. It's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry, Harker. It's fine. Just gonna pop off to London." And like, I'm like, "What the fuck am I watching? What have you done to Dracula?" And I'm like, "They ruined it. Of course they did. It's fucking Stephen Moffat." But like, I had hope. I had hope. I had dreams. I had dreams, and Moffat once more ruined it.
Yeah, I kind of had that opinion with the Gary Oldman one. Gary Oldman, brilliant in the role, but in my opinion, they butchered the source material by making it into this, in my opinion, soppy ass romance. And I'm thinking, I don't recall reading any of this in the book.
Yeah, yeah. I love Gary Oldman, and I love Keanu Reeves.
Poor Keanu, he was so miscast. I know where the bastard sleeps. Oh, jeez.
And then you also had Sir Anthony Hopkins, and he was awesome. Like they pick such good actors,
Misused them.
and it was such a
Van Helsing barely had a presence in that film, and he's like one of the big characters in the book. Is Van Helsing?
yeah, like yeah. It's just. But yeah, and then but I think my one of my one of my favorite Dracula movies is Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Is that
Oh,
the Mel Brooks one?
Yep. It's got Leslie Nielsen in it. It's basically just a spoof, and a typical Mel Gibson fashion. It's just a spoof of of Dracula, but it's got Leslie Nielsen in it, and Leslie Nielsen is perfect. Perfect as Dracula, because it's like he does that really exaggerated accent, and it's like, "I don't drink wine, but I will take, whatever." And it's so funny. My favorite One of my favorite scenes is when he rises out of the coffin, and of course he's fucking Dracula.
yeah.
And so he rises out of the coffin, and he like a really dramatic scene of him, you know, right rising up, and then all of a sudden there's a chandelier, and he just goes doink, and like headbutts it, and he's like, "Oh, I've got to remember to move that."
Here's something though. I think this would be an interesting uh, topic. I would think. If you were to cast like your dream cast for like a really authentic, by the book adaptation of Dracula,
Hmm.
whether it be on the stage or movie or TV series, who would you cast in the roles? Because I'm gonna throw out a name,
Okay.
and I'm either thinking he would be good as either Dracula or Van Helsing, and it's Mads Mikkelsen.
Ooh.
Yes, he would be great as either.
Oh, he would be.
Who is the name of the actor who played Gaston in the Beauty and the Beast movie?
Luke Evans.
Is that his name? Luke Evans?
Yeah,
Okay.
Luke Evans.
Did you guys see the Dracula movie that came out where it was just like before Dracula became Dracula? It was like a few years before.
Oh, Dracula Untold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did a good job, even though like it was the script for it was kind of interesting.
Look, okay, so not only am I a huge fan of Dracula, but I'm also like I almost said I'm a big fan of Vlad the Impaler. Like that's not what I mean. I find him fascinating, so I'm like I really enjoy like researching his story and whatnot. First time caller, yeah, a full time listener, first time caller, Vlad the Impaler. I just love your work. No, it's not like that, but but yeah, he's like really fascinating. And so when we went to watch Dracula Untold, it was me and a friend, and they, their whole thing was they were incorporating Vlad the Impaler and the Dracula vampire legends, and they were kind of melding them together.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in the theater, and I'm just like mumbling, "That's not right. That's not right. Nope, that's not right." And my friend finally reaches over, slaps his hand over my mouth, and goes, "Shut up." And I'm like, "But it's not right."
It's like me watching Braveheart. It's like that didn't happen. Where's the bridge?
It's not right.
It's not right. It's not right, and it's not fair. You
I'll
can't silence me.
I'll tell you one that pissed me off. It was a television show that aired here in the States. I can't remember. I can't remember if it was just named Dracula or what. But it had what was his name? Jonathan Rhys
Myers. He's
Yeah.
good. If you've ever seen him in The Tudors, he's really good.
Oh yeah, he's a fantastic actor. And that's the thing about these things is like they'll pick really, really good people, but then
material.
the material they give them is like really crap. So like for some reason Dracula is is some kind of like rich magnate, and he's like trying to undo the oil industry. He's basically like Dracula. He's basically like what
He's
Dutch
a vampire. Why do you care about that?
He's basically what Dutch was aiming to be if he had like any kind of class and real money kind of thing. Because like he was like first the oil magnates, then the world. And it was like, what the fuck? And then at some point, and this is the part that pissed me off. They gave him an American accent. So he's like yeah, my name is Dracula, and like I'm here to do, wireless electricity kind of thing, basically like going off of a Tesla vibe. And it was like, what? Why? Why? Like these people that try to revolutionize these old stories, and it's like, but it's a really cool concept, but then they just take it in a really stupid direction. It's like Dracula wouldn't give a shit about oil or any of these magnates. Like that
sound like a Bond villain.
Exactly. It was awful.
Like why? Ew.
It was awful. Like I literally sat there going, "This is literally the worst thing ever," but I'm gonna watch it to the end. I've invested this much time in it. I feel like I have to finish it.
I'm just trying to think now. What other actors?
Eddie Murphy was Dracula, and it was like a fire in Berkeley. It was basically a late 1980s, early 1990s retelling of the Bram Stoker book, but with African American actors.
Ooh, since you said the name Eddie, I'm thinking maybe like going back to the Dreamcast for like a Dracula adaptation, Eddie Redmayne.
I think,
like as Harker or something like that.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna pause everybody right here because now I'm mad at all of you.
Aye.
Because y'all motherfuckers sat there and let me say Mel Gibson.
Oh.
And not a damn one of you corrected me. And now
I could have said, but you know.
every single one, both of you just sat there and let me do that.
Once again, we have betrayed Jackie.
It was Mel Brooks. I knew it was wrong when I said it, but it just kind of popped out of my face hole. And like, the best part is, like, when we record, they can see my screen. So everyone just saw me go, wait a minute, and type in the actual name to search.
You just wonder, though, how would a Mel Gibson vampire movie be?
It would be awful.
Yeah.
It would be awful.
Have, like, some sort of like really religious-y themes and kind of have the same plotline as Braveheart, like, you know,
mixed in with
he's a vampire going about his wife, and then like vampire slayers like kill his wife, and he goes on a big rampage, and then does a big speech to a big horde of vampires, and you know.
I'm so glad you rephrased that, because what you said was he gives a speech to a big whore.
Oh my
He could have done, but you know, I don't know. Depending on what the age rating is for the movie, I suppose. But you know,
I feel betrayed.
I'm sorry.
I feel so betrayed. No, honestly, I think Anthony Hopkins, it was like, I think he would have been a way better Jonathan Harker. I mean, I'm gonna stick with Gary Oldman as being Dracula. Gary Oldman was amazing.
Oh, he's just really good. He can like mold into any role that he's in.
Yeah, exactly. I genuinely love Gary Oldman, and I respect the hell out of that man. And I mean, and Keanu Reeves is really good as Harker, but I think he would have pulled off an amazing Helsing.
Yeah. I think it would probably have been better than the Van Helsing that we did.
You know who I think that might be a good Renfield? Because Renfield was the guy that was in the insane asylum, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Andy Serkis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oops.
The funny thing is, you asked that question, and then like my brain just kind of went and just flatlined. Clearly, because I said fucking Mel Gibson.
The hell, he could be
Mel Gibson's Dracula. Look, no. The only way Mel Gibson's gonna be allowed in my Dracula film is if he's the victim. Okay, like that's it. Like, just take Mel Gibson's ass out. I feel so bad because I love Mel Brooks, and like, I just feel so stupid now. Anyway, but yeah. Okay, so here's another question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite scary movie? Actually, more so importantly, maybe not scary movie, but like, what's your favorite like monster movie? Or it doesn't have to be scary, but just your favorite like scary movie, or anything like that.
I really like the Conjuring series. Like, the acting in that is just amazing. I mean, Vera Farmiga, she's just incredible. I love her. But I remember seeing Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2 in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
The second, like, for the sequel, if you've never seen the sequel, good God, that motherfucking nun. Oh, no. And one of my friends that I went to see it with, he doesn't bode well with scary films at all. We more or less dragged him there to see it. He had no choice. I think it was actually for my birthday, I think, like a few years ago when it came out.
Yeah.
But no, as soon as that nun, it was like this demon nun, pops up, we both kind of looked at each other as if to say, yeah, if that was at the end of my hallway, I'd be booking it out of the house. Just no, I wouldn't, certainly not follow it. And be like, oh, what's this mysterious fit? No, why the hell would you follow something like that?
Follow her.
Idiots in horror movies grinds my gears, if anything.
All right. What about you, Catherine?
I actually don't get very spooked by scary stuff.
I do.
You you do, and it was funny when we were share playing like what you call
Last of
that?
Us?
Not the well, yeah, you were well, I wasn't share playing with you The Last of Us, but like it was just really funny when we were playing Resident Evil because I was just like, Nicola, I really need you to be my ears and you
Oh
betrayed
yeah.
me. But I didn't get scared of it. It was more of just like surprise. And I was just like, Nicola, why? So I
Oh,
understand.
you heard him.
You heard him, but you didn't tell me.
I
That's
did when you said a second. Keep your ears out for him. He might be nearby, and it's like, oh, I could hear him because I could hear his footsteps. But obviously, I misjudged it, and Leon got hit in the face by Mr. X, and we both yelped. So
Well, if it makes you feel better, that was like our attempt to play Phasmophobia the other day.
I've seen a few of the YouTubers play it. I've seen Delirious. I've seen Daz Games. Yeah, it's a game that I will more for none shit myself playing. Pardon the language, but yeah, no, I don't do creepy games. If anyone's ever heard of the horror game series Fatal Frame,
Mhm.
Mhm.
or I would check gameplay footage for that because there's been long plays on YouTube of it. The original trilogy, I would say, like the first three. I know there's like later games that came out, but I don't know what like they are. But those games are they're just so good in terms of like story because it's like really messed up. It's psychological horror thing. It's Japanese horror, so you know it's going to be good stuff.
Mhm.
But gameplay wise, you're basically running about this creepy ass wherever the hell, whether it's a village, mansion, manor of sleep, and
Yeah.
you've only got a camera and you have to take pictures of these ghosts
Yeah,
trying to kill you.
yeah. It really depends on the game. But yeah, it's either a village, a shrine, a hotel, or like a mansion.
There's
I
always
think,
like some weird human sacrifice element to it.
well, yeah, it's twin shrine maidens, and like
Rock Shrine Maiden and
ancient rituals and things like that for prosperity. Sort of like if you like Fatal Frame, then you might like a game called Siren, which is
oh, is that the one where it's like again it's like set in Japan, but that you kind of get this ability for like a foresight that you can see through the enemy's eyes or something? Is that the
um
is that something else I'm thinking about?
it's a little bit like that. You can kind of detect where an enemy is, but yeah, Siren is the same way. It takes place on an island, and it was like an old fishing village, and it disappeared during a storm. Nobody could see it, and these survivors are like drawn back to the island. Well, not survivors, but they're just like people that want to investigate and things like that. They're drawn to the island, and some people are looking for people that went there and stuff like that. So it's a little bit like Fatal Frame, but it's different because you get to play as different characters, and some of the characters can't fight back. Like my partner was playing the first one. He was the first one or the second one, but there's a little girl and you can play as her, and she's trapped in like a hospital with like the enemies, and all you can do is run and hide. But if you get caught, then it's like he was like, nope. Like he opens it up and he's like, I was like, okay, so where are you? He's like, I'm in the hospital. And I was like, okay. And he's like, fuck, I'm a little girl.
I've always got a rule with video games. I've got trust issues with video games. Anytime there's a segment in a hospital, you just know it's not going to be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Prime example, playing The Last of Us 2. If you've played The Last of Us 2, you'll know what I mean by hospital. I knew that was setting me up for something. I knew it.
It's like Catherine and I decided to play Phasmophobia the other day, and because it looked like fun. Like I'd watched Markiplier and Jacksepticeye play it, and it looks really really fun. And so I was like, I want to do it, knowing good and damn well I'm scared shitless of it. But we get into the game and everything is like we kind of get a basic idea of how the game works. So for those of you who have not seen game footage of it, you are ghost hunters and you go into these houses or these buildings and whatnot, and you have different objectives that you have to complete in order to pass this thing, and you have to find evidence of a ghost. It uses in-game chat, so you can talk to each other either by proximity or through a walkie-talkie, which I think is a really really cool mechanic.
Hmm.
And so like we get into this building, we finally figure out how to talk to one another. And we get into the building, we're walking around, and first of all, Catherine can't figure out how to turn her flashlight on.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's walking around in like pitch black darkness. I have a flashlight, so I'm just like, yeah, I can see. Everything's fine. Everything's good. And all of a sudden, I walk out of the room. I come back and she's like, I'm stuck. And I was like, oh, well, while you figure that situation out, I'm just going to go see if I can find upstairs. So I go and I was like, hey, I found the stairs. She's like, that's awesome. I'm still stuck. So I wander back in and I walk into the kitchen where Catherine is stuck and her character is bent backwards into a perfect 90-degree angle, staring at the ceiling. And I'm like, Catherine? Catherine, are you okay? And all of a sudden, her character disappears. All of her shit drops to the floor, and I'm like, oh, guess she disconnected. So I pick up the camera, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna face my fears. I'm gonna go find this ghost. It's what Catherine would have wanted. So I go upstairs because I finally find the stairs. I go upstairs, and I'm like walking around. I'm like, okay, this isn't so bad. I've got my camera out. Everything's good. And all of a sudden, you hear thump, thump. And when your heart starts beating in the game, it means there's a ghost nearby. And I went, oh no. And all of a sudden, I hear something go right in my ear. And I went, no. So I back up real fast. And there's like a trail of smoke. It's actually your breath. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, cool, freezing temperatures. I have evidence. Awesome. And then I look over and there's this like shadow figure that's like kind of stalking me. And I'm like, nope, walking in this big circle away from it. And then I turn and my flashlight lands on this person standing in a corner and she's like twitching and like jerking around.
God.
I was like, oh my God. Just took a picture. Immediately disconnected the game. It's what Catherine would have wanted.
Some Blair Witch shit right there. No.
Oh my God, it was so bad. And so then she's like, she sends me a message. She's like, I'm really sorry, I got disconnected. And I was like, you left me. And right after you left, it got spooky.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're not.
Let's face it, if we were to play it again, I think that would be a laugh. But I know for a fact I would be the first one to die. Either unintentionally or purposefully, so I wouldn't have to endure. Like, I threw myself in the path of the ghost. I don't want to be on this planet no more.
Take me.
Take my soul.
Yeah, it's a fun game. Usually, well, let's see. You asked, we kind of segued away from the question you had asked me what's my favorite horror movie. I like to watch the Halloween films. I like to watch them starting from like the first one and going through. I haven't seen the last couple of ones, but my favorite is like Halloween H2O, then the Halloween with Busta Rhymes. Oh god.
Halloween H2O. That was the one that was done by Rob Zombie, wasn't it?
I think it was the one after like H2O, and then I want to say it's H2O, but I know that he did do another one
Hmm.
after the Busta Rhymes one. Um, and that one's also good too. But those two that I mentioned are my favorite because they're so quintessentially 90s and so patently ridiculous
Is
because
that,
like
was that
real world.
is that the one that had Brandy in it, or if I hit my head or something?
No, I don't think Brandy was in any of them.
Hmm.
Busta Rhymes was in one, and he was playing as like an MC who had like a reality TV show where they stuck like people in a haunted house. You know, that whole kind of like uh
Trope.
trope thing. Especially, reality TV shows where they do that, where they're just like, we're gonna lock you in a haunted house and see if you make it to like the night through the night, and like winner gets money or something like that. And they try to scare them, like they try really hard to scare them so that people are like, I want to leave, I want to leave. And so like they'll come and they'll take them, and then it'll be like, now there's only four, basically. Those type of deals,
Hmm.
like those type of game shows. So yeah, that's basically all it was. And they manufactured like spookiness, but they didn't count that Michael Myers had actually escaped and was living in the house. Well, they were just like, yeah, this is fine. And then it's just like, yeah, for the climax, we're gonna have somebody dress up like Michael Myers and like spook people and like be spookies and like like scare people and stuff like that. And like so he's like prowling around in the background, and like one of them is just like, yo man, I need you to go, like, she's in this section, so I need you to pop out of the wall there and try to grab her. All right, awesome, cool. And they turn back to the computer, and Michael's just like, the fuck. Like kills him, and it's so ridiculous because it's just everybody was just like, haha, really funny for having Michael Myers here to try to be spooky and like try to like kill people and try to like fake kill people. I know what you're doing, it's not gonna work, I'm not leaving. And then it's just like, oh god, it really is Michael Myers.
That's so funny. Oh my god, I've never seen that one.
You need to watch it. I mean, it's not exactly scary. It's more of just campy. It's like Evil Dead. It's just campy. There's good practical effects of like the gore and stuff like that. Because this was when we were still learning like CGI and things like that. So it's
Hmm.
it's they're starting to get there in incorporation, but that one was mostly just practical effects.
Is it like Freddy versus Jason level of cheese?
Uh, less cheesy
Hmm.
than less cheesy than Freddy versus Jason in space. But yeah, I like to watch the Halloween movies, or as Janie likes to call him Murder Daddy.
It's not just Janie. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Oh, you call him Murder Daddy as well.
Yes.
They just I'm sorry. I always think it's funny whenever I see something from Dead by Daylight and somebody refers to like Michael Myers as Murder Daddy, and man, they are being horny on me.
Look, man, I'm just saying, there's something about a guy wearing a mask, walking up to you, grabbing you by the throat, and hoisting you up, and then just like stabbing you. There's just something
A
about it.
William Shatner mask?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
how they like the story behind how they got it was just like they're like we need a mask, and so at first they had the William Shatner one, but then they're just like it's not intimidating, it's kind of like weird looking.
It will be.
So the person who was in charge of like the special effects and stuff like that at the time was just like hold up, and he like took the mask and he like beat it up and he like got it really dirty, ran over it a couple of times, just like destroyed it and brought it back, and they're just like excellent, awesome, this is beautiful, intimidating, he looks crazy, this is great.
I mean, accurate.
Yeah. And like the actor who had played Michael in the first film was just like they had wanted him specifically because they had remembered him from like some crime like a periodical like TV show
Mm.
where he's on there, and they're just like he's excellent, like look at him, he's got the intimidation, and he's also like kind of like he's a good actor. And so when they had given him the script or told him like who Michael was for his audition, he walked in there. He was like, I thought it'd be a great idea if I didn't shower, if I didn't comb my hair. And I kind of walked in there with like yesterday's clothes, and I sat down and I put my feet on like the thing on like the table, and I just kind of didn't answer their questions correctly. And they're like, this was just like a formal audition. We already were gonna give you the part. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do all of that. But he got the part anyway, and he's like, it's like they're like, it's fine because he's supposed to, be kind of crazy, but like, in terms of like he's just not all there mentally, especially since he was supposed to be like a serial killer. So it's fine,
Mm.
But I was just like, oh my goodness.
Let's see. My favorite Halloween movie, not like Michael Myers Halloween, but just, general spoopies. Let's see. My favorite parody is Young Frankenstein, which is also a Mel Brooks movie.
Okay.
But yeah, it has Gene Wilder in it, and he's playing as Dr. Frankenstein,
Yeah.
and his sidekick Igor. And yeah, he's trying to like fight off the reputation that his grandfather had, because his grandfather was Dr. Frankenstein. And just that whole movie is just such a so it's so funny. I love that movie so much. So if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Go get it, watch it right now. Well, not right now, like finish our episode and then go watch it. Um, as far as like one of my favorite scary movies, I would have to say it's actually probably Exorcism of Emily Rose is one of my favorite scary movies. Just because the idea, which is really funny because I'm not a religious person, but just the idea of something invading my body and I couldn't control it, and just like, all that stuff is like it's kind of spoopy, but
Mhm.
it's really scary. Like the whole movie is kind of it's very slow moving. You're kind of getting details of Emily Rose's life as the movie progresses, but then all of a sudden it comes to a climax of they're trying to perform the exorcism, and just the level of acting for that one scene. And the scene is actually not that long, but it's so worth it just for that one scene. It just blew me away. It was so good.
Hmm.
Um, isn't that one based off of an actual exorcism case?
Hmm.
You got
From,
German woman, was it not? Or
yeah, it was from a woman in Germany, and she had she was very religious, and she had thought that or they can't really say, but she basically said or thought that she was possessed. And it was really sad because everyone around her was like, yes. And then when they did perform the exorcism, it was over like a few days, like a week basically. And she had died of dehydration and starvation, and it was this whole thing. And people were like, I think they had brought the priest and parents to like court,
Mm-hmm.
because the police were just like, this is a homicide or neglect. But they couldn't really prove without a doubt whether it was a possession or if it was negligence on the part
Mm-hmm.
of like the family and the church.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what ended up happening was that they had to just pay like a fine and stuff like that.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, so it was very sad. And it was a very sad case. And
Mm-hmm.
I did see that movie, and I thought it was really well done, especially when they had her, when they showed like the introspection of Emily, basically.
Yeah. Like, just kudos to all the actors. Like, that to me is the like is a job well done as far as acting and material and all goes, because it was respectful to the religious side, but it also brought into question, like, can religion go too far, or can beliefs go too far? It shows kind of like it becomes its own like crime drama at the same time, because like obviously it's a bunch of lawyers that are battling it out, and just it brings a lot into the question, a lot onto the table, and just like the acting especially is astounding in my opinion.
Hmm. I don't know if y'all have seen the movie The Possession.
Mm-mm.
I think I seen it on Netflix a while ago, and it's got Jeffrey Dean Morgan in it, and
Mm.
it's about he's got this divorced dad or something like that, and his youngest picks up a Dybbuk box, like
Yes.
a local yard sale or something, and she becomes overly attached to it. Then obviously shit hits the fan, so to speak, and me being me with my brain, I remember thinking, being a Supernatural fan, and the fact that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was in Supernatural, I'm thinking, come on, John, you know how to do this. You know how to rattle off an exorcism. Come on. I'm thinking, wait, no, he's not John Winchester. He's whatever the character's name was called again. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that was a really good one because it just took a different spin on like the demonic possession storyline. Because yeah,
Oh,
it was
I've
like
got
really
one.
weird as well.
I've got one, and it actually ties in a weird way to our previous conversation. There's a movie with Anthony Hopkins and Colin O'Donoghue in it, and
Mm.
it's what is it called? I can't remember the name of it now. Um, but anyway, it's the story of a man who is basically an atheist or an agnostic, but in his family, the like people become one of two things: funeral directors or priests. And he doesn't really want to be a funeral director. He's been surrounded by death his entire life, so he decides to go into the priesthood. But being an atheist, obviously he's got some issues here.
Yeah.
So he he follows the path of Anthony Hopkins, who is an exorcist. And there's a part in the movie, spoiler alert, there's a part in the movie where Anthony Hopkins becomes possessed. And that was honestly, legitimately terrifying, because Anthony Hopkins is a brilliant, brilliant actor. And all I could imagine, there's this moment where he looks at Colin O'Donoghue, and he says something. I don't even remember now what it was, but Colin O'Donoghue gets this look on his face of pure terror, and I'm like, that's not acting. He legitimately scared the shit out of him. because that's a level of terror that you just can't fake. I don't care how good of an actor you are. That's just like the scene in Thor where Tom Hiddleston as Loki steps up to say something and Odin goes "Ah!" at him, and he kind of jumps back and has this look of terror. Yeah, that's the same look of terror that Colin O'Donoghue had, and that was legit.
I was like, what did he say? I don't know.
Tell you another movie in that. When did it come out? It came out, I think, 2009, thereabout, I think. I remember seeing it in the cinema with a group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was Drag Me to Hell. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Sam Raimi that directed that movie.
Yeah.
Like, really, really well done, but it was silly at certain points, if I can remember right enough. But yeah, there was a lot of elements in that film that I just had to look away because I'm thinking I can't just
Mm-hmm.
like the old lady and why it was just any scene that she was in just grossed me out. It was like, no, I can't stomach it. And the opening segment, that is like a really good opening segment for at least a horror movie. It's not on the same level as the opening segment to Scream, because I think that's like one of the great movie openings, I would say. But yeah, I think a special mention to the Final Destination movies as well.
Oh man, fuck those movies.
The third one put me off the idea of sunbeds. Let's just say that. Well, I'm not a creature that's made for sunbeds. I would just essentially disintegrate like those two girls did. But you know,
Look, I watched one, and I can't even tell you which one. I may have watched at least parts of them all. I don't remember. But let me tell you, that movie series made me afraid of log trucks and nail guns.
Roller coasters too, maybe.
Oh, well, I was born with that particular fear, but yeah.
Yes. I watched them, but I'm just like, it's not so much that they're like scary and they'll make me afraid of like certain things. It's just that it was too unbelievable for me. Like it was just like a step a little bit too far into the realm of like the believable, like, you know, like I don't know, like I can believe monsters and things like that. Like, oh, okay, monsters, get it. But then a personification of death that's just targeting them specifically, and just like,
It's like gore porn, essentially.
It is, and that's kind of like the Saw movies as well. I've never watched one of the Saw movies, and I don't want to. I'm just not a really big fan of gore porn.
No, never mind.
Oh, and I forgot there's one movie that's actually more my favorite than Exorcism of Emily Rose, and I'm actually really sad that I forgot about it until just now. House on Haunted Hill, not the original one, although Vincent Price nails it. Oh my God, Vincent Price. But anyway, yeah, House on Haunted Hill, that was such a good movie. It was just the right amount of cheese with like just your standard at the time special effects.
The remake that had was it Vince Vaughn or who was in that remake again? Was Catherine Zeta-Jones in that remake?
Hang on, House on Haunted Hill.
Either that or I've hit my head again, but
not that one.
I think I'm trying to remember.
Because I know Nostalgia Critic talked about it in one of his videos.
She may have been in it, but
Jeffrey Rush, that's his name.
Jeffrey, yeah. Okay, no, she wasn't in there. You had pulled it up and I see it. I was just like, okay, yeah, no, she wasn't in there.
But yeah, House on Haunted Hill with Jeffrey Rush in it is one of my favorite, like legit favorites.
uh, what was it? And on TV, they used to do like on a Saturday night kind of like movies, or like Sunday night kind of movies. And there was one time that they're doing like a slew of like what you calls that, Stephen King novels.
Mm-hmm.
So they did like Rose Red.
I like that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. I watched it with my sisters, but my sisters cannot take spooky stuff. They're like, no, thank you.
Yeah, this all sound bad, but I've never actually watched a Stephen King movie aside from Secret Window. I think it was.
I
That
love
was,
Secret Window.
that was
Yeah.
like unintentional one time. I think it was on TV a while ago, and Johnny Depp was in it, so I thought, oh, cool. But
So
I want to see Misery because Kathy Bates just playing an absolute blinder as Annie Wilkes, and it is Annie Wilkes, isn't it?
It's a I don't remember.
I don't know. I've either made an arse of myself, I don't know, but
it can't be any worse than Mel Gibson. You're fine.
Sorry, Kathy Bates, if you're listening.
I loved you in Titanic, Kathy.
So look, okay. So the Secret Window thing, funny story, just as an aside, is so my ex-husband and I, when we got divorced, I would go around and tell everyone, we're getting a divorce. 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 Because, whatever.
A divorce.
Divorce. Divorce. Divorce. And now every time I have to write out divorce, that's how I say it in my head to remember how to spell it.
It's like, what is it? It's a D-I.
Divorce. That was a good movie, though.
I think for obviously not just adult themed horror movies, obviously you've got more child friendly ones, the ones that you've probably introduced to. There was one movie, not necessarily defined my childhood, but it was one of the first movies that I remember it legitimately scaring the ever loving shit out of me. You'll laugh at this. This will be a belter. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Look, listen, I was 6 or 7 years old when I saw that, and that legitimately freaked me out. I mean, if you've not seen that movie, if you watched that movie as a kid, you might understand where I'm coming from. But that genuinely scared the hell out of me. And I know it scared my friend as well, because we watched it at a sleepover, and it was nighttime. I was standing in the top landing of her house, too afraid to go downstairs because I thought there were zombies going down to get me, and her mum somehow happened to be awake, and then she had to turn the landing light on so I could see where I was going. And it's that whole thing, you get up to go for a slash in the middle of the night, and you have to do the mad dash back to the bedroom because you think some ominous being's gonna grab you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that. I think that and Return to Oz scared the hell out of me as a kid. Yeah.
Let's see. As a kid, the funny thing is, and I was actually going to mention this, is you would think that people from our generation would be a hell of a lot harder to scare when you consider the fact that we grew up with Goosebumps, we grew up with the Crypt Keeper, we grew up with Halloween Town, we grew up with Hocus Pocus, we grew up with all those, and then Don't Look Under the Bed. We grew up with all of those, and then on top of that, at the time, late at night, MTV would play this show, which I don't remember now what it was, but I think it was called Fear. And throwing back to an earlier conversation where we were talking about reality TV shows where they just throw people into a scary place to find evidence of stuff. That's pretty much exactly what this was. Is they took people into these supposedly really haunted places and here's evidence. And I can remember one of them was oh my God, I found bones and I found a heart, and it was a chicken heart, but at being younger, I was like, oh my god, this place is really haunted. They found a heart, and yeah.
If anybody watches, the ghost investigator type of shows, it's not necessarily Ghost Adventures. It's the UK series Most Haunted,
Mhm.
and
They used
it'd been on for years. But they used to have this psychic on called Derek Akora, rest in peace. He was this like guy from Liverpool. He was like the psychic medium, and they were always going about some dark, dank building, and you would always guarantee be going. They said there was a murder. There was a murder here. There was a murder. What was that, Sam? Yeah, yeah. There's a murder. There was a murder. There was one time where he got seemingly possessed, and then he proceeded to scream at Yvette Fielding, the host, and like call her a slut. I think that's the hardest I've ever laughed in my life. And I think they were actually in Blackpool, like investigating the ghost train, and they said that there was a ghost called Cloggy or something. And I'm thinking, no, can't be serious. Come on now. I think my mum actually sent me and my friend out the room because we were laughing like a pair of donkeys. So, which is weird because my mum had no interest in stuff like that.
I remember like as a kid, I love ghost stories and stuff. So like my favorite month was Halloween. Jesus Christ, I need to sleep more. My favorite month was October because like even the History Channel would bring up like haunted history and like all this other stuff. So it would tell stories about like all these places that were haunted, but it was like a historical thing because History Channel. And like it was so cool. I'm like, oh yeah, the ghosts of the Civil War battlefields and like all this other stuff, and it was so cool.
Sorry. It's like when you said that they would, you know, they would actually do history stuff. I'm just like, oh, as opposed to ancient aliens.
Yes, oh my god.
On with the History Channel, my dad would be laying eggs in his grave if he found out what happened to it. Oof.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's special.
Yeah.
Besides a Civil War, well, not Civil War documentaries, but besides like it was mostly what I remember of it. It was mostly just like, hey, y'all want to learn about like the what you calls it, World War II, World
Yeah.
World War II, Korean War. It was always those World War One, World War II, Korean War, and then it'd be like, let's look at the tanks from World War II, you know. And it's like, let's look at the bombers from World War One, and it's just, and so I was always just like, oh my god, you know,
Yeah.
because that's all you can say. Just oh Lord.
Right.
Um,
And then like just to kind of drop off here for just a second away from our spooky talk, but like we spent years having World War One and World War Two drilled into our heads. That was pretty much, at least for me, the main topic of discussion every time we did a world history class. We were taught all this stuff about World War One and World War Two, only to find out that everything we'd been taught for 20 plus years was wrong. Like, because
it's pretty wrong.
yeah, it was like really wrong, and it was like I felt really ignorant there for a while when they released that um the Netflix documentary about the Holocaust, or specifically about the work camps. It was like they went through the history of how like Auschwitz and all these other camps came to be and like what happened throughout, and like there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know like at all. Like I was never taught like the propaganda that happened, like cuz we were pretty much taught Hitler bad, America good. I know, shocking, shocker, right? Um but yeah, like the nitty-gritty details of it that they don't show you while you're in class is like so much worse. And then like the one that like kind of blew my mind was we had always been told that we liberated these camps. Not true. We weren't even there. We weren't in the picture. Like, we helped towards the end of the war, but it wasn't us that liberated these camps. It was Britain and Russia. And I was like, oh, wow, we really messed up that history.
And that was something I asked my dad when I was a kid. It's no offense to America, but why was America always late to the world wars?
Because
I don't know, but
because we
that
didn't
could be-
care
that's
until it
a
affected
whole-
us.
That's a whole debate, and that's not a topic. But either way, I will interject just slightly by saying if anybody is interested in history, specifically about like World War II, especially. This is sound like my dad saying this, but The World at War, narrated by Laurence Olivier,
Mhm.
is by far one of the greatest war documentaries ever made. It was like made in the 70s. So, like a lot of, some of the big head honchos, like you had Hitler's secretary was still alive at the time, and a lot of big names were still around to obviously be interviewed to like talk about it, because I think at that point it had only been 40 years or so since, so a lot of people had memories of it. Like a lot of the veterans were still around, and it covers like the whole spectrum of the war from the establishment within like the Nazification of Germany to France falling, the Netherlands falling, Stalingrad, to what was going on in Asia, because he spent a good portion of it like talking about what was going on in the Pacific. And just if you're a history buff, check out that series if you don't already know about it. But I think if anybody's a major history buff, you'll have at least an awareness of what that is, or you should. But again, that's my old man talking. So
I will
carry
throw
on with our original subject.
I will throw this out real quick, and then we'll move on to the answers to our question. When you said Nazification, you said it Nazi, which just made me think of Brad Pitt and Inglorious Bastards. I need Nazi scouts.
Lord.
Nah.
Nah. What was it you said last week? Oh, koala.
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 Sounded like
Mock my accent. It's not my fault.
Koala.
he sounded like Owen Wilson.
Wow.
All right, I'll inquire the listeners. Does this sound weird? Koala. Does that sound weird? That's how I say koala.
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 Wow.
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 And the last minute or so is spent with us just going, wow.
Making weird noises. Yay.
Wow.
It's like
Okay.
regressed to being 7 years old again. Hooray. Quarantine's finally made me crack. Even
Finally.
more so. I was already crap before lockdown, so it's fine.
So so we can move on.
This
Because
is what happens when you give me a microphone.
so we're gonna answer the question, and then we just started making like cow noises. We just started making like different noises. Okay, so we had asked a question last week about what was your fall traditions, what is something that you would do primarily when it starts getting cold, because we understand that time zones and areas of the tropics and things like that is different for everybody. So right now could be summer or spring for someone, and for someone else it's like, it's fall now. So yeah.
And if you're in Louisiana, you get fall in the morning and summer in the evening.
Yes, or you may be in some place where it doesn't get cold. It doesn't actually get cold, like tropical islands, things like that. So we were at just asking what is something that you would do when it's like fall, like when it's fall for you. So like, is there certain types of food that you eat, certain places that you may go, things you may do only specifically when it's here? And so we got your answers. And we have Cronell, who's says that what makes fall really special to me is taking over summer. I hate summer.
Same. Same.
As for the other questions, my favorite fall activity is ditching the phone and watching the trees. I don't have favorite foods because I eat less than 2 times a day. And other than taking offerings to Zeus, I don't take part in that many rituals. And then we have Katrina, who says that we are a fall family. We love to decorate and eat pumpkin everything and watch the leaves turn.
To which Tiffer Joe responds, or Tiffany says, "Oh yes, I roast the pumpkin seeds after carving. Yummo." Funny story about that is when I was in kindergarten, our kindergarten teacher, and she's carried on this tradition throughout the years. But
Mhm.
she actually like we would get like a classroom pumpkin, you like paint it and all that because obviously kindergartners. You would paint it and you name it and all this stuff, and then she would take the seeds and she would roast them,
Mhm.
and we would like the next day after everything was said and done, we would eat the seeds. And then about the end of the week or so, when the pumpkin started to go bad, we had the ceremonial throwing the pumpkin over the fence to get rid of it.
It's like we're gonna throw the pumpkin.
All right, say goodbye to George. Yeet.
Um, Tiffany, Tiffer Joe, says, okay, well, my sisters and I usually carve pumpkins. Never too old for that. And then
Truth.
we the Rocky Horror Picture Show, sometimes with props. Usually go to the Forest Festival, canceled sadly this year. I also decorate the house like crazy.
Yay, decorations.
Uzma Wahi said that I love the fall and I watch a lot of films, usually horror films, and eating pizzas.
Pizza's good anytime.
Pizza's good anytime. The Wild Bandit says, I do a thing called Movie Monday and watch some classics and order some pizza, then go out for a long walk.
So basically, what I'm seeing here is pizza is the common theme. Pizza and pumpkin seeds.
Pizza, pumpkin seeds, going outside.
And just existing.
Yeah.
And then over on Facebook, we got Janie who said, some decorating. Decorating is my favorite. Food, some light murder, jack o' lanterns, the 12-foot skeleton from Home Depot.
I did tell you that if I ever did get that, my partner is they're not going to be very they're going to be very confused if I got that 12-foot skeleton from Home Depot because it's going to be inside our apartment and he's going to be like, "Why?" And I'm just, "Why not?" Look, his name is Jonathan, and he is a valued member of this family. He lives in that corner right there.
I mean, I think I want that 12-foot skeleton so bad. I want it so bad. I love having like Halloween decorations. I've worked in a haunted house before, and well, technically I've worked in two ish. Um and like I love having like skeletons around everywhere. And so one year we were doing like a haunted maze slash house type deal, and I bought two skeletons, and they were about 6 foot tall, and we just had so much fun posing them around. And I took one of them to work with me one night and dressed him up in my uniform shirt, and he had a cigarette hanging from his mouth because I mean he's already dead, smoking can't kill him anymore. And his name was Ichabod Cranium. And the other skeleton was his wife, Isabel Cranium. And and yeah, like it was just so funny. And we would we would put them in the car, and we would like strap them into the seat belt and everything. And it was like, please, for the love of all that is good, don't let me get into an accident. That's gonna be really hard to explain.
That's that's like, why do you have, ma'am? Why do you have? Look, it's I can explain.
To which I look at the officer and go, mind your business.
But yeah, I would love it, but I don't have space for him. I don't have space, sadly, for Jonathan. I'm so sorry, Jonathan.
I would keep him up year round. Like it wouldn't just be a Halloween thing. Like he would be Christmas themed. He would be I would give him like feathers. He could be a giant turkey skeleton. Like 4th of July. He's got like a Roman candle in his hand. Like I mean, he would be amazing. Like that would be an investment for me.
The sad fact is that if I had something like that outside my house, people would burn it like a wicker man.
Mm.
They would think I turned pagan or something. It's like, no.
Like honestly, at this point, no one would be surprised.
Like,
No one.
no. You hear a screaming Nick Cage inside it going, not the bees? No.
Like if I were to buy that skeleton, first of all, his name would not be Jonathan because that's just weird. His name would be Rufus because that's a way better name for a skeleton. But anyway, um and no one would be surprised. No one in my family, no one in my neighborhood, like everyone would just be like, "Ah, the crazy lady. She's got a 12-foot tall skeleton. Whatever." And they'd keep driving, and the reason why is due to an unfortunate accident, the skeletons kind of fell apart. And so I was like, hey, the cool thing about broken skeletons is they can just become further decoration. So I just kind of dug in the yard and make it look like they were coming out of the ground. And it's like, haha. And I left it up all year long.
They're just like, it's whatever now. It's the world's problem now.
I will tell you though, at one point we did, because we don't really get snow here, we get more like sleet. So at one point it did sleet, and it sleeted enough to cover the ground, and it was a little eerie when you walk out in the yard and there's this hand coming out of the sleet.
It's like, oh no. Oh, what did I do? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. I was being weird.
There's a body in the yard. Oh, wait. No.
Oh yeah.
It's like, am I gonna have to call the police?
No, not this time. Maybe tomorrow. But yeah, so, with it being my birthday and all, if you guys want to pitch in and start a GoFundMe and get me a 12-foot skeleton, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, she really wants one. You should get it.
Mm-hmm.
You should get it. Either that or we have, like Janie does it and you guys kind of ship it back and forth.
Can you imagine that, like, when they X-ray parcels and whatnot, that going across the X-ray and they're just like, what?
It's like this giant broken apart 12-foot like skeleton in one of like those giant like little parcel boxes, and they're just like, we don't get paid enough for that.
You have to do that like anytime they like transport like ancient mummies or something to like museums abroad. You think you have to put them through like the scanners at the airport? I mean,
Well, no, they have like a different one because because the scanners might damage, like the mummy itself. So they just kind of are just like, we're just gonna trust you that this is what you said it is, that this is a mummy and it's not a human body.
you say it's a 50 mummy in there, but I don't want to go check, so.
Yeah, you said it was a mummy, and I'm gonna take you at your word because I can't open this box, because you said we can't. So I'm gonna take you at your word, and I'm just gonna wave you on because
Look, for legal reasons, I'm not gonna say that that's brilliant.
I think anybody with common sense know not to open a sarcophagus that they don't know what's inside. So, I mean,
yeah, you
people have seen the mummy, surely.
you say that, Nicola, and then we have like instances of like, you know, folks doing that anyway. And at
True.
which point you're just like, I see. I mean, like, I think it was like I think I came across an article where they're just like, hey, you know the reason why we don't have as many like as many mummies is because like rich people were eating them.
Yep. They were eating them. They also turned them into paint. It was a specific paint called mummy brown. They would also use them for medicine. They were used for like they've used mummies for all sorts of stuff. There's actually a story about an artist who like he incorporated a lot of the mummy brown into his work, but he never knew where it came from. And then he found out and he was like devastated.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be too. I'd be
It's
like,
just mummy brown, you would think. Be-
You would think, but then again, like I've seen some really weird paint colors, so it's like, eh.
yeah, like it's a like there's different names for paint and things like that. Like, they have different names like Stony Shore and things like that. And you're just like, okay. Okay. You don't really think anything of like mummy brown because then you're just like, so like the color of the wrappings or something like that.
hmm
Okay, awesome. That's cool. And then it's actually just, just desiccated, destroyed, like actual
Powderized.
yeah, powderized human remains of somebody and that who's may have descendants, may not have descendants, but at this it's somebody's like kid basically.
Somebody who might have ruled Egypt at one point.
Yeah.
Oops, they made for a great seasoning.
Who knows? It might have been Hatshepsut. That's why they've never found her remains.
I mean, it's possible. That's one of the theories they've got.
Yeah, there's a lot of like missing like pharaoh and like empress bodies and things like that, and they're just like, so why can't we find them? And it's like I really can't say.
Oh,
And
here's a good mystery for you. I love like this is my jam. Okay, here we go. So, you know the pyramids of Giza.
yeah,
There's 3 of them.
yeah,
So, the last one, which is the smallest one, is the temple or not the temple, but the resting place of Menkura. And he or Minkare as some people will say. Um he that like that one to me is absolutely fascinating. So, way back when the British decided, you know what? You see this stuff? We're going to take this stuff.
Yeah.
So they went into the
what
tomb.
what year was that?
Touche.
Who knows?
Fair enough. But yeah, so they went into the tomb and they're like digging around and like discovering things like they do.
Hmm.
And they found a sarcophagus, like this really elaborate sarcophagus. And they also found one, like a couple other bodies, which wasn't uncommon. A lot of the servants and stuff that were loyal would be buried alongside the pharaoh. And they found this one box that had a body in it. So they took all this stuff, loaded it up onto a ship, and set sail back for England. And it sunk. All of it gone. But here's the best part. So some of it did survive. They were able to save some of the stuff from the tomb. I think if I remember correctly, in the elaborate sarcophagus, they opened it up. They did DNA testing on it and all this stuff, and they discovered that the body that was in the sarcophagus was like hundreds of years younger than what the like hundreds, if not like 1,000 years younger than what like Mincora was supposed to be. They have no clue how this body got in there because it was a sealed tomb.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, I am so here for vampire mummies. I am so here for this.
You know what ancient aliens will say? Aliens.
We do not talk about that. We do not acknowledge that.
An alien. They got trapped inside and it died.
Oh my goodness.
They went, oh yeah, we forgot air holes.
Well, I mean,
Aliens and signs that invade the planet that's just like surrounded by water and they're allergic to water.
well, that's the thing though, is that I mean, I love ancient aliens because it's so patently ridiculous because it seems like they can't get it into their heads that ancient people actually knew how to build things.
That's true.
Like they had their own system of how to like build things, geometrics, the math that goes with it. And they're just like, there's no way that these people could have built this temple. It had to be aliens. Aliens had to come down on just like, dude, they knew how to build stuff.
Yeah. Like
You
just
think
because
that,
it
like-
was an ancient civilization does not mean that they didn't know how to do things.
Yeah.
you'd think
So
that aliens landed and taught us what the wheel was, but obviously we didn't have the capacity for like written language, so we forgot about it.
yes. So the thing is that when you said that it was like thousands of years younger or like 1,000 or few years younger, and it's like in the thing, I'm just like they did reuse tombs. They did reuse tombs, you know, like they.
Shh. Don't ruin the mystery for me.
I, I'm ruining the mystery.
Do not ruin the mystery. The mystery is mine, and I will hold on to this because I love the idea of vampire mummies.
Okay, jeez.
Like, if you think about it, if you had like ancient Egyptian vampires, right? Like,
Yeah.
check this out. So they go through this whole thing about building this huge elaborate tomb, right? With like rooms and underground caverns that like right now we just don't have the technology to really go into without like ultimately destroying the entire thing. There's like this huge underground network that we've only just now begun to really investigate. Like they're using like ground penetrating radar and all this other stuff, and they're like, whoa, that's a lot of stuff in there, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, here's this vampire dude, right? And he's like hiding in his pyramid and like all the underground caverns, and he's just chilling out. And then, like, after 100 years or so, he comes out and he's like, yo, what's up? And like, no one would suspect anything because everyone forgot him at that point, and he could just go wherever.
It was like he can go wherever. He can go and do things. He can be like, yo, what's this new world like? And then he can go, you know.
Yeah, and then okay, everyone like people start to get suspicious like, bro, you've been around for like 50 years. Why are you not aging? And also, where all these dead people come from every time you come into town? And he's like, shh, mind your business. And then he just like disappears back into his tomb in his like secret underground like tunnel system. Like, bro, if like I'm just saying 2020 is kind of fuck nut crazy anyway. Like, why not start investigating these tombs? We might find Egyptian vampires.
Yeah, I think it would cotton on if the guy had a sunlight allergy.
But see, what if they don't? What if that was a clever myth? See, you don't know.
Or maybe they're like specially adapted vampires, you know, to live in the desert. Maybe they're desert vampires.
Exactly.
My God, we're onto something here.
Mhm.
Gin.
So basically, what we're saying is, if we disappear next week, the Egyptian vampires that don't have sun allergies got us. We know too much.
I think they would just be called jinns. Those are like evil spirits. The genies, they're jinns.
Sort of. I don't
Sort-
think they're necessarily evil. I think that's what we've kind of turned them into. I think they were just like tricksters, but yeah.
Yeah.
Humans can't understand. Evil!
If American gods taught me anything, then they're just tricksters.
Mhm.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine, and we will love them and we will accept them, be they Egyptian vampires, be they Jinn, be they whatever. We accept all form of monster. This is a safe place for all monsters.
Yes. Yes. Sort of.
I will accept all monsters into my home.
Okay. I don't have a lot of space, and if I accept a monster into my apartment, they're probably gonna have to, up my rent. So, I can't accept you, but you're doing great.
I like paying for single occupancy council tax. I like getting the reduction for that. So yeah, I wouldn't want anybody else.
Guys, you're missing the
That means I would have to
point.
pay more.
Guys.
Council gets enough for me. So.
Guys, you're missing the point. I think you're actually just trying to suggest that you're afraid of monsters. But you're missing the point. If you have monsters in your house, then they'll just scare everyone that tries to charge you extra.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I know.
But then I would have to worry about what are they gonna eat? Because I'm sure they're not gonna be like, would you like some broccoli cheese soup? And they're gonna be like, I require the flesh of the innocent. And just like, I'm out of flesh of the innocent, but I got a lovely croissant.
Well, see, here's the thing. So, I mean, you could technically, if it's just the flesh of the innocent, you could feed them chicken skin because chickens are innocent.
Chickens are mean though. They're not very innocent.
Chickens are also stupid, but that's not the point. The point is they're still innocent, so we could just feed them chickens. And there's also like deer, and you don't know what if you get a demon or something in your house and that demon likes a bologna sandwich.
I don't like bologna though.
Well, it's not all about you, Catherine. If you have a scary monster that will protect your house and will be your friend, are you telling me you would not go to the store and buy some bologna specifically so your new demon friend could have a bologna sandwich? That's just selfish. I don't like bologna either, but I would do that for my friend.
Bologna is. I just hear it all the time, and the thing that's such an American thing. It's like bologna sandwich, and it's just like, what the hell is bologna?
It's just spam. That's all it is. It's spam.
Basically.
If
With a
you've
little
had spam,
with a little red ring.
yeah, it's instead.
That sounded oddly dirty, and I don't know why.
Yeah, all it is just spam. It's just a processed like mix of meat. So if you've eaten spam, you've eaten like a type of bologna.
Basically.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really cheap food.
Exactly. So you're telling me that you would not go to the store and buy a thing of bologna just so your friend could have something to eat.
I would have to buy a whole bunch of bologna because they'll eat a whole lot.
You're assuming a lot. Like what if you get a demon friend who doesn't eat a lot? Like maybe he's really like picky and he's just like, "No, I only eat like once a month."
What if it's vegan?
Yeah. Flesh of the innocent. You could give him broccoli. You could give your demon friend a carrot.
Kale chips.
Like my demon friend likes potatoes. What is your demon friend like? Oh, my demon friend likes cauliflower. Cool.
So basically, we're just becoming like the investigating paranormal like group for Hellboy. We're just
Like,
taking
like my demon likes soy lattes from Starbucks. No sugar.
Like, and then like you get a little werewolf friend, and you could like pet the werewolf, and it's like you don't even have to bend over because the thing is as tall as you are, and you just go, "Who's a cute little fuzzy? Who's a cute little fuzzy?" And like he loves it, and he like loves belly rubs, but only like once a month when he's actually a wolf. Otherwise, he's just a really hairy dude that lives in your house.
I see.
Like we're missing out on a great opportunity, guys, and I think it's because you're all monster prejudice, and that needs to be addressed. So I think all of you need to go and seek help for getting over your prejudice here.
People think I'm one already. I'm ginger.
Well, we know that's why we keep you around. So do you want a bologna sandwich or not?
No. I told you I like pizza and donuts.
That's true. See? So are you telling me you wouldn't go to the store and buy your ginger demon a pizza and some donuts?
That's oddly specific, but okay.
Well, at least we've learned
Oh,
something.
mushrooms also rearrange your furniture.
Ooh. But only by like an inch. So you'll stub your toe every time you walk into the room.
I think if I was like a pesky demon or something, I'd be like doing the like minor inconveniences, like moving the car keys and just like taking the dairy products out the fridge so it melts, and just leaving the toilet seat up or not flushing the toilet, stuff like that.
Okay, so hang on, back up a second. I thought you said pasty demon, and I was like, yeah, well, you are. So, I mean, not really a hypothetical, but go on. And then you kind of hesitated for a second, and I thought you were gonna say moonwalking. So, really white redhead moonwalking through the house, going, "Ha ha! I moved all your furniture.
Come on.
I've hidden your car keys."
Oh goodness. I was thinking about something and I totally forgot what I was gonna say. But I think we've actually like went over our time.
Yeah, by a lot, but that's okay because we had a good laugh,
We-
and we've learned something about Catherine. She has a prejudice.
To baloney.
Not to baloney, Jesus Christ.
I don't even know anymore. I need my bed.
Thank you for joining us around the campfire. We'd like to thank Brett Van Donsel for providing the music, and you can find more of him on his website at brettvandonselmusic.com. You can find us on Twitter at CameoGang1899 and on YouTube at Around the Campfire Podcast. This is Catherine, riding off, and we'll see you around, cowpoke.